Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One day we're gonna be live here. It's
I think we're live. I think we're live.
I'm gonna just keep being like, wait. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we are live. Shout out to everybody already being here in the chat. Very excited about this. Today we are here talking about ROH Death Before Dishonor. Just had an amazing show, SP3. Back-to-back heat on the matches, an incredible main event that we're going to get into. Before we get into it, of course, I am Righteous Reg, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster of the Grab City podcast. And with me is the homie SP3. We're going to talk about Ring of Honor, and I didn't think there would be anyone better to talk Ring of Honor, as when these weekly shows are happening on the timeline, when this stuff is happening, SP3 is always right there talking about the shows, move by move, match by match. So who better to have on this show? First of all, welcome SP3. How did you feel? First, I want to get your thoughts on kind of the build-up going into the show and how the show as a whole kind of came up to that.
I mean, I think there was a lack of a build. I think if we're all being honest with each other, we all saw this kind of coming about maybe a month or so ago. But first of all, I want to say, thank you, Reg, for having me here. Thank you to Kate for inviting me on. I've been wanting to talk about Ring of Honor with you, Reg, for so long, because I feel like we are one of the representatives, us two, along with Kate, of the Ring of Honor kind of fan base of current era that has transferred over from previous eras, and we all came in at different times. So it's very cool to kind of talk about, when did you become a member? It's like,
right.
Like joining a club.
when did you get in?
When did you drink
like 2004? I was at 2016.
And I told this to Kate when she did her Samoa Joe versus CM Punk watch along, that rivalry was what made me discover Ring of Honor. And I was like 16 years old. It was like 2004, and I was very much, this was WWF in the middle of, or WWE in the middle of Triple H Reign of Terror and JBL.
Some tough
on
times
SmackDown.
over there, SP3.
I wasn't feeling it. I was trying to get my fix from TNA on Wednesday because I still had the black box, Reg. I still had the black box with the illegal cake. So I used to get those $10.
We were just talking about that, I think, on Ask Graph today, and I was saying, look, they had a weekly pay-per-view show for $10, and most of us can't afford $10 a week, bro. That's crazy. But SP3 had, of course, the ultimate cheat code in a black household, a black box.
Black box with the remote. You gotta have the remote as well. Can't come one without the other. So I had that. So I was watching those $10 pay-per-views. But then you got guys dressed around in penises and Jeff Jarrett being slap nuts and beating my favorites like Monty Brown and stuff. So it was hard times in 2004. And then my friends told me about Samoa Joe versus CM Punk, and I had seen Punk from TNA. I had heard about this Samoa Joe from being over here on the East Coast, and then I watched the matchup. I became a Ring of Honor fan, kept up with, like, you remember the old Ring of Honor weekly thing on the website. That's how I used to keep up with Ring of Honor, because I wasn't up on getting the DVDs yet. That would be like another year before I would start getting the DVDs. So that's how long I've been with Ring of Honor. So I'm very excited to be here talking about it. We're talking about Death Before Dishonor, one of the staple Ring of Honor pay-per-views. And this show, from top to bottom, felt like kind of a culmination of different eras of Ring of Honor coming together. It kind of felt like what they were trying to do, if you remember, Reg, in 2019, when they got Juice Robinson and Mark Haskins, and they had Roosh and Dragon Lee. So they were doing like Lucha Libre meets strong style meets like this technical wrestling, and that's what this kind of smorgasbord of a show felt like.
I always love every time that they have a great weekly show, and I'm talking with Kate. Anytime you get the essence of what Ring of Honor represents, that's all we really are here for. And this show, off rip, had the essence of Ring of Honor represents. The thing that kind of gets muddied up in Ring of Honor being attached to the Collision tapings is those fans could be tired by the end of that. Imagine like trying to watch a Ring of Honor show after you just watch that FTR and Bang Bang Gang tag match. Like, you're going to be tired as hell. They took you through an emotional roller coaster. And then after that, you're going to watch a Ring of Honor show. So it's a tough thing. But here, this is people that bought Ring of Honor tickets to see Ring of Honor shows with Ring of Honor wrestlers on it. And I think that they did an amazing job of doing it. They really loaded up the card a lot yesterday as the show was going on, Honor Club. And as Tony Khan was tweeting out, we got a lot of what was to come on this show. And they executed, starting with the 0 hour, which I thought was super strong when it came to showing exactly what that Ring of Honor style is and getting a lot of these wrestlers on the card that deserve to be here, that have been working kind of throughout these weeks and months on Honor Club, that need to come and represent. And I thought they started out really strong here, especially because like they had some really representation of what Ring of Honor represents. I mean, starting with the pure match with Josh Woods and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, is kind of like, this is Ring of Honor. You're about to get all kinds of different styles. So, Kaun, what did you think, like off rip, with the 0 hour show? And how did you feel about the presentation and how the crowd was here tonight?
And that was where I got that kind of like kind of spreading out of styles and different styles was from 0 hour right off the jump. And the crowd, I thought it was such a great move bringing Death Before Dishonor to Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah,
because when I hear Trenton, New Jersey, I think Ring of Honor. Right. I'm from the East Coast, born and bred New York City. I did not know Trenton, New Jersey existed until Ring of Honor started running shows.
There's so many places like that throughout history that if it wasn't for pro wrestling, like ECW went so many places that I was like, what? Where are y'all? Like, what do you? That's not a real place. That doesn't exist. And yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so many different places, but yeah, the Trenton, New Jersey is one of them. So I thought the crowd was very loud, starting off, and they got into things and they helped out a lot of the matches on 0 hour. I thought Woods and Williams was a nice way to kind of, like you said, set the tone and saying like, this is pure rules. You're gonna get something different with Ring of Honor, and I appreciate that they can start off with that type of matchup that usually you would see kind of middle of the show or after
exactly.
a kind of a more red hot of an opener. So I like that they started off with this type of matchup.
Yeah, and I'm really big fan of both of these guys. I think going forward, I always want these two to be featured prominently throughout. Josh Woods is just like, I don't know, there's something about him. He has that intangible thing that you need, and I think he's a really good wrestler. And I think if he's given more opportunity, I just said this on the show yesterday, if he's given more opportunities, he could be one of the biggest wrestlers in Ring of Honor. He could be featured in any division. Him being in the pure division is great, but he could also be a contender for Samoa Joe in the TV championship, because he just could fit in anywhere. Honestly, if they paired him up with a good tag team, it'll work. So I really like to see him kicking it off, getting his chance to kind of shine here, and really a great way to kind of kick off the show. Let's get into a couple of super chats before we move on, just because I want to show love to everybody showing love to us. We appreciate y'all being here, showing up for us, and watching the Ring of Honor product. Ricardo L. Notorio says, yo, this pay-per-view ruled. This pay-per-view ruled. I am, however, very high. That's the way to do it, Ricardo. I mean, there's only way to really watch this show.
I remember, being under that same state in Hammerstein Ballroom. And those were my favorite Ring of Honor shows that I remember. I remember singing Final Countdown to Bryan Danielson for the last time in Hammerstein Ballroom when he went against Nigel McGuinness at Glory by Honor.
Do you guys hear SP3 flexing on all of us right now? He dropped a couple of bombs there, right quick. He's like, oh, yeah, I used to be in Hammerstein Ballroom High. Used to see Bryan Danielson Final Countdown. He wrestled Nigel McGuinness. He just dropped it all nonchalant like it was nothing. I'm like, yo, you see these classic matches in these classic buildings like it's nothing. That's why he is here to represent what Ring of Honor has been happening tonight. So another one from Ricardo L. Notorio says, wasn't Kate at the show? Kate wasn't actually at the show. This was a sick burn on her. It was in her home, and she had to go to a wedding instead of being at wrestling. Can you imagine wrestling coming and interfering with wrestling? Or wedding coming and interfering with wrestling? So rude.
Too many W words there. But
honestly,
yes.
He came and messed up my little speech right here. That's how much we hate weddings. Brent Lockman says, pretty sure the Dark Order intercepted Max's Amazon order tonight before that match. Mox's Amazon order before that match, because they had a lot of plunder that you might have seen featured in that Blood and Guts match from the other night.
Yeah, it was like they got the leftovers of what was left over from Blood and Guts. We got Legos. They didn't have any ladders in Blood and Guts. Smart move there. But yeah, they did use a lot of stuff, and we'll get into that. And we'll also got Humper chats to get to, and of course gotta ask the people to of course subscribe here and subscribe over at Fightful Select. FightfulSelect.com, the best $5 in the game. And like Reg said earlier, Axe Grap City, that's my favorite show. So you should go over spend that $5 and go over and listen to Axe Graps.
We really appreciate y'all. Yeah, definitely do that. Subscribe, pay your $5, get all the best news. Sean Ross Sapp, has got crazy news right now. If you want news on SmackDown, if you want news on Ring of Honor, if you want news on all the world of wrestling, definitely pay your $5. And then you can see shows like Ask Rhapsody, where Phil and I kind of go into it. Valhalla Mamapudi says SP3 and Reg. Now, this is a combo I like. Agreed, man. We've been waiting to do this and waiting to set it off for a really long time, and I'm happy that it finally happened. Alan Hess just sends in a nice little humper chat. Really
Vala B, I've been here. Don't worry. I pronounced it like that my first first few times. Vala B. That's the homie right there. Vala B.
He's always in here too. Yes. Vala B. I really appreciate it. You're always showing support. You're always representing. I can't talk. I don't know how I'm a rapper. I can barely put together words at the same time.
To be fair, it is like almost 11:30, Eastern, 8:30 over there. After like 7 p.m. over here, I'm a little wonky myself. I usually do a lot of my podcasts earlier in the day myself.
You see, Grapsody starts at 9 a.m. for a reason, so I could be on and be sharp. If it started at 9 p.m., it'll be a completely different show. I'm gonna get right back into the card here. Appreciate y'all sending in the super chats. Again, if you want to get your super chat read here on air, send it in. We'll give it up to you. And of course, thank you for the support. Get your humper chats in. Subscribe. Next, we had a really strong match in the 0 hour. It was Darius Martin and Action Andretti taking on the workhorsemen of Anthony Henry and JD Drake. I love Anthony Henry and JD Drake so much as a tag team. They represent the spirit of what Ring of Honor was, is, and is going to be. They're hard hitting. They do some high flying. JD Drake hit a moonsault at one point in here for a really hot tag. Action Andretti and Darius are a really surprising tag team too, because when Dante went out, it was very upsetting for a lot of people, and we didn't really know where Darius was going to be, but he just kind of pivoted with Action Andretti and moved forward very quickly. These guys were super hot. At one point, Action Andretti got up JD Drake in like a torture rack, and Darius spinned him around into a neck breaker. Wild action. Everybody looked great in this, and I think that moving forward, Collision is going to be a great space for both of these tag teams, because I think the way that tag team match last week kind of set the tone. If we're going to get great tag team action like this, the Workhorsemen, and as they announced, Darius and Action Andretti are going to take on the Bang Bang Gang tomorrow at Collision. I think this is a great place for them. How did you feel about it, SB?
I really enjoyed this one because they kind of went into like the third gear and just put their foot down and just made it to like a very good finish to the matchup. There was like a couple of spots I took note of. Action Andretti with like standing on JD Drake's back at one point, and then doing basically an escalera all around into a head scissors. Wow. I thought his hot tag, he looked great. I thought this was the best that Action Andretti has looked since the Fight Without Honor, which I thought that was the best he looked since the Jericho match.
That was a great match.
we need to put more of these type of performances up there. And they teased, him hitting that finisher, like you said, the torture rack position into the neck breaker, like the whole match. So they told a little bit of a story as well, which is different for the type of matches that I usually expect from what I call them action flight.
Okay.
Just make it easier on ourselves.
That does make it easier. Why didn't you tell me this like legit 10 weeks ago, SB3? Send me a DM. I've been having these ROH post shows all the time, calling them fake ass Top Flight, and it's been action flight this whole time.
I was at first I was calling them extra red bow Top Flight, but
that's a deep cut. Not a lot of people are gonna get that one.
Action flight worked better for people who didn't understand that deep cut. But yeah, no, I really enjoy them as a team now. I feel like they have finally gelled with one another and developed good chemistry, and they make for a great like babyface underdog tag team. And I 100% agree with you, Reg. We need more for the Workhorsemen. They're too good. They are like just plucked out of like 2002 through 2005 Ring of Honor, and they're just in 2023 and they're lost. They're like, what are we doing? This is not the Ring of Honor that we thought we were gonna come to. They are like the next evolution. Like I say with like you've been bringing up Bang Bang Gang. I say Jay White is like then this generation's evolution of the main event heel wrestler. He is what Triple H was for the generation when we were growing up, what Ric Flair was for the 80s, what Harley Race was before that, and so on and so forth before him. Jay White is that now. And I feel like the Workhorseman is like the Ring of Honor evolution of what No Remorse Corp with Davey and Rocky to American Wolves to Red Dragon to the Workhorsemen. We are here now, and this is the next evolution. JD Drake, so underrated. I want more for this guy. I want more for this team. They need to do more with them. 100%.
Spitting, those was bars. Yeah, just do more with these, and it just shows how strong the Ring of Honor tag team division is. And that's what was kind of making me upset when they weren't being defended or represented even for a lot of those Honor Club episodes. It was like, yo, you guys got some amazing tag teams in here. Why is this happening? But yeah, great match from both. And they did, like I said, they said that Darius and Action are getting a shot at the Bang Bang Gang tomorrow. They did a lot of that throughout this episode where they kind of tied in Collision announcements or Collision things. How did you feel about that aspect? Does it bother you when they kind of add in the AEW thing? Do you think it takes away from what ROH is supposed to be?
I think it does dilute it a bit. I don't think it 100% takes it away, but it does dilute it to like remind you like, hey, you're still watching AEW. That's what it kind of.
You know what this is.
It kind of like, oh, you forgot. You've been watching all this good wrestling. You're like, oh, it feels like Ring of Honor again. No, reminder, AEW Dynamite. This
Tony Khan's like, hey, don't forget who paid for this, big dog. Do not forget who paid for this.
It's a wedding. And the bride's family wants to keep reminded, like a shout out by the DJ, like shout out to the wife's family. They paid for all this.
The dad of the wedding does his toast, and he's like, "Hey, do not forget, this wedding would not be happening if I wasn't here." That was Tony Khan.
It's all me. That's Tony Khan. He is the bride.
Respect, though, wouldn't you? Yeah, wouldn't you do the same thing?
100, and we know if Vince would have got this, he would have been doing the same thing. So
that shit would have been called WWE Presents Ring of Honor. Like, they're lucky that we didn't get AEW Presents Ring of Honor, you know?
And I'll be honest. I mean, if they did that, I think they would be moving more tickets as far as as an individual product. I think it might be running more tickets if it was All Elite Wrestling Presents Ring of Honor. I think it would move more tickets.
SP3 with some controversial takes over here. He's saying if AEW presented this, it might get more people talking. That's very interesting. I'd like to hear how you guys feel about that in the chat. Like, do you guys feel the same way? Do you feel like if AEW added some more branding to it, maybe that it'll kick off a little bit more than it does? Very interesting take. Right after that, we had a great women's match. one of our favorite wrestlers in the world, Trish Adora, looking amazing. After her New Japan Dojo stint, she looks like a completely different wrestler. She was great before. She's even better now. But SP3, Layla Hirsch, man, what? It's just destruction and disorder. She came back and she's doing exactly what she did before she left. She had the stigma on her of being a badass. Everybody wanted her to just go in there. People were saying they wanted her to be a part of Team Task originally. People wanted her to be part of the Blackpool Combat Club now. They know how she gets down. And she did a lot of that in this match. This was a very technical ground-based contest here. They had a lot of counters to each other. Layla showing that her knee is ready to go. She was out there rolling with Trish. Trish was looking fantastic with their New Japan Dojo setup. There was one point that they were in the corner and Layla did this thing where she faked out Trish and kicked her leg out from under, and I was just like, that's the most beautiful thing I ever seen. Like, I don't like,
dude,
just, you know, just like one little spot.
It felt like it was straight out of the Bryan Danielson, William Regal playbook. She basically lets Trish back her into the corner in the lockup and steps on her foot. So when Trish has to back up after the referee says to back up, she can't move. So then she steps on her knee, makes a drop on her ass, and then stomps on her arm. I was like, yo, you hurt the knee, you hurt the arm, you embarrassed her. I was like, you checked multiple boxes. That was such a great spot, and it led into the heat. And then, you know, Trish made her come back with like a nice power bomb out of an arm bar. And I thought the finish was really good with Layla with like a nasty basement drop kick. Yep. And then Trish came back with like a backbreaker. You got hard hitting action. Then you get the pin exchange. And then you got Hirsch locking in a cross arm breaker for the win. So I thought this match exceeded my expectations so much. Like this went up to like 10 at like the 5-minute mark, and it just never let up. It was very hard hitting, more hard hitting than I thought it would be, and I thought it would be with these two.
Yeah, this one got me between a rock and a hard place because I love Trish so much and I just wanted to win. And I kind of feel like since she joined the infantry a couple of weeks ago and what she's been doing on Ring of Honor TV, she's kind of had the trajectory like maybe she could be the one to challenge for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship coming up here. But Layla Hirsch just came in like a damn Tasmanian devil and just destroyed everything they were talking about, saying, don't forget about her. Remember that she is one to watch, and put herself immediately in title contention because you just like want to see that showdown of whoever is now the Women's Ring of Honor champion. We'll talk about it later. I want to leave you with some suspense. What if you didn't see the show?
This is true. But we got to remember to talk about this because I was like, I thought this win was leading to eventually the big woman showdown is Willow and Layla. But you know, we'll talk about what happened in the main event. But we didn't mention Sky Blue coming.
Oh yeah, Sky Blue. Yep.
After the matchup,
Layla attacked Trish after the match, had her locked down, and Sky Blue, of course, here comes Sky Blue. She's on every single AEW show that exists. If there's a camera in the building and there's fans there, Sky Blue is going to be there for some reason. Here she comes to make the save. They announced a match for Sky Blue tomorrow, also on Collision. She's going to be taking on Taya Valkyrie. So another tie-in. Here comes Sky Blue to save the day.
We're going to give Taya another loss, though?
You think so?
I mean, I think
can't see Sky Blue losing, huh?
That'd be crazy. I think that Sky is higher on the pecking order right now than Taya, and you just did the Taya title match, which I was a little confused about because they did the whole Taya versus Hikaru Shida matchup, and Shida won, and then Taya got a shot at the world title. I was confused by all of that, but
very interesting.
I think Blue is higher on the pecking order.
I agree. I think that's exactly where it is. And then last on the final hour, 0 hour, was the homie AR Fox taking on Shane Taylor. A lot of energy in this. AR Fox's theme song, Josiah just destroyed that so hard. Every time that song pops off, I'm just like, hey, yo, he got like the energy of AR Fox and the bounce so right. Like, I don't like.
Yes.
How did you get it so correct, so on the money? I don't know. It just works out so well. Shane Taylor is pissed off, though, SB3. He wanted to win the tournament to challenge Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. He came up short. So he is out here angry. I mean, when isn't he angry at this point? Every time he's out there, he's angry. AR Fox, on the other hand, though, is just such a ball of fire. He's hitting all his AR Fox spots. He hits the big springboard, imploding tope con hilo. That's just insane. Shane Taylor, like I said, is just angry. He's throwing forearms. He's throwing elbows. He's headbutting. He's trying everything to slow down AR Fox. But AR Fox is on a trajectory because he has a big title match coming up this Wednesday against Orange Cassidy. So it was going to be hard for him to get to lose here. He ends up hitting Shane Taylor with the rolling DVD into the 450 for the win. AR Fox here, he has been having a really strong showing throughout this kind of Honor Club thing, but I'm surprised, honestly, SB3, because I really did think Shane Taylor was going to win that tournament against Samoa Joe, and I thought that he was going to be the one to potentially dethrone Samoa Joe.
I wouldn't have been surprised, and it would have been like we've been talking about this whole review is like different generations of Ring of Honor, like the big bad dude of like the last generation of Ring of Honor versus the all-time big bad dude would be Shane Taylor versus Samoa Joe. Right. But as far as this matchup, I absolutely love this. Like, this was a splendid, like, clash of styles where you got Shane Taylor, who's so rough, so rugged, so scrappy, but also he's got all this size, all this power to him, while AR Fox, like you said, it just has so much energy and so much agility and uses his athleticism in such unique ways that sometimes his opponents aren't ready for him. But I just love the little touches to the matchup, like when Shane was on offense and roughing him outside the ring at ringside, and he just pops him in the mouth. And I'm like, why you had to do that to him? Why you had to pop him in the mouth like that?
He always slows people down like that. He's good at that one.
Dude, my favorite part of the matchup you did not mention was Caprice on commentary when he was absolutely outraged when Shane took off Fox's do-rag. Dude,
listen,
this was the match for us.
Listen, points were made. Caprice knows exactly what it's like. He knows what it takes to put it on. He knows what it takes to keep it on. And for somebody to rip it off, that's disrespectful.
Caprice was out here spitting facts. He said he took his do-rag off. Now he will never have waves. He's like, he said, and I quote, he got to get a whole new do-rag and start over. I literally was in tears. Shout out to Caprice Coleman, because that was the best call of the whole entire night. And then I like the finish with Taylor. He was just like, shoot, I gotta do my finisher from the top rope, because he did the welcome to the land driver, which I thought was over. I did agree with you.
That spot right there where that sequence where he ended up with that was crazy.
I thought it was over right there. And I was like, oh, they going to make AR lose before he versus Orange? So when he kicked out, I was like, oh, okay. But I like Taylor just being like, shoot, I got to hit my finisher from the top rope. I can't just hit my finisher. So he looks for Marcus Garvey driver on the top rope. And that leads to Fox showing off his strength to do that cartwheel DVD that he did at the end, and then finishes him off with the 450. I enjoyed the hell out of this. I'm a huge fan of AR Fox. Been seeing him over here on the East Coast for what feels like 2 decades now. And Shane Taylor, one of my favorite wrestlers, kind of like unsigned right now, which I will be begging until he stops appearing on Ring of Honor. Why have you signed him, Tony? Because this should be the guy that you build this new Ring of Honor around. This guy can talk. He's got the character. He can work with just about anybody. And especially when it's a guy like AR Fox, who's so talented, such a great high flyer, he makes such the perfect base for them. And that's why I enjoyed this matchup.
There's a couple of guys like Shane Taylor that I say, shout out to AC Mack, who just retired. They're like the complete package where, like, in order to really understand them 100%, you got to let them talk first. And I feel like Shane Taylor is one of those wrestlers is you let him talk, and then that's going to draw him in, and then you see him, and then that's going to take it over the edge. They haven't let Shane Taylor talk enough in Ring of Honor, and they need to ramp it up, because the things that he was doing with the Shane Taylor promotions was one of the hottest things in Ring of Honor before the turnover to what they have now. So I hope that he does get a shot kind of moving forward. 2 losses in a row is not a good sign, but you know how it goes. He could just be having a bad week, and he's going to do it. Let's get into the main card here, because that's when things really got kicked off. Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor started out with the Righteous Reg Invitational Spot Fu to the death, 2 luchadors doing all the flips in the world. Who could do the most flips, and how many times can Reggie jump up and down seeing all these flips? It was a lot, you guys. That was the answer, and it was awesome. I loved every bit on it. We had Commander taking on Young Bandito's brother, Gravity, in a luchador lucha off. This is probably the perfect way you want to start a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. It felt just like this at Supercard of Honor a few months ago. They started off with Commander and Vikingo. You do the same thing here in SP3. These guys threw out all the flips, all the dives, all the spot fu that you can really get into. Commander hit this springboard. He did double springboard off the second rope to double springboard on the top rope to hit his big corkscrew moonsault dive. Gravity did a super weird Ric Flair bump into the corner, and then he flipped it up and did a dive off of that too. These guys were just like, how wild can I get? Who could get even crazier into it? All the great, amazing spot fu you can expect. The super crazy Commander running the top rope to bounce off the next rope and hit a big moonsault. Just insane stuff. How do you do this? He's a superhero. He's a video game character. I don't understand it. But as a huge surprise to me here, SP3, Gravity picks up the win, the surprise win over Commander. And then they announced what we've all been waiting for, you guys. When we heard that Gravity was announced on this show taking on Commander, there was only one joke that I saw for the last 24 hours.
Yes.
Just one. Wonder what Pac's going to think. Wonder what Pac's going to say about this match. Wonder if Pac's going to see Gravity after this. Pac and Gravity. Right after this match, right after Gravity gets the win against Commander, they announced this Wednesday on Dynamite, Pac is taking on the man Pac is taking on forgot Gravity. Gravity forgot Pac, and now he has to remember him because they're taking on each other this Wednesday at Dynamite. It's crazy.
Getting to know each other again. You're reuniting people.
Rekindling that relationship.
Rekindling. You forgot about him. Here he is. Welcome, everyone. But that's what made this win make sense. And I totally agree with you. They need to start every Ring of Honor pay-per-view like this now. Like you're 2 for 2 as far as delivering these action-packed, high-flying. There's no type of psychology. No. There's no type of story to this.
Absolutely
this is just flips. This is flips. This is cool to watch. This is the stuff, honestly, regardless of what you feel about your storytelling and all your great stories and stuff. This is the stuff that gets the casual fans. Is this stuff 9 times out of 10? Most of the casual fans I've met in my life, it was because of a Will Ospreay versus Ricochet matchup. Bro. That's how I got most people into wrestling. It's because they were like, wow, I ain't never seen anything like that. That's much different from every other sport I see. That's much different from every other form of entertainment I see. This is what it's for. And I love good Lucha Libre with people who know how to do good Lucha Libre. I feel Commander is very talented, but he is still very green. True. And I feel like he can only work with these guys that know how to do the Lucha Libre. That's why he's had great matches, or a guy who's just all around awesome, like Jay White. Jay White had a great match.
Somebody who can base, it'll work, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, or he does this with these Lucha Libre type guys. Him and Vikingo, I thought that match at Supercard of Honor was 5 stars. This was a great opener to the show that just got the people on their feet, got them excited for the rest of the show. And then they gave us a surprising finish as well, with Gravity getting the win. And he needed this win. Like, I thought the whole point of this matchup was to get Gravity over. I thought he was going to lose, but I thought in the loss, he was going to get over. We're going to showcase him. He had a nice showcase against Rey Fenix on Ring of Honor television, had one here. and he gets the win, and now he's going to be on Dynamite. That's a success story right there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I saw Gravity probably a year and so ago at a West Coast Pro show, and they were like, "Oh, this is Bandito's brother," and he has improved a bunch since then. The match tonight looked way better than he looked then. You've seen that he's been working on his craft. You've seen that he's been getting better. I mean, if Bandito's your brother, I'm sure that he's constantly just like, I got to get better than my brother, and that's just enough to motivate somebody to do this. Yeah, so shout out to him getting the shot on Dynamite against Pac. Pac's gonna be very angry after the events of things that happened recently. So it's gonna be a tough night for the boy Gravity. I feel for him. Next up, we had for the Ring of Honor Television Championship, the King of Television, Samoa Joe, taking on the winner of the television title tournament that they had very recently on Ring of Honor Championship, Dalton Castle. A lot of interesting things going on here. First of all, Stokely Hathaway is on commentary for this match, and he is cutting up off rip. He is just being Stokely Hathaway, one of the best signings that in all of AEW just since the beginning. I knew that when he got released from WWE, or he didn't sign his contract, or however it happened over here, that wherever he went, he was going to be a great asset to them. And I think he's been even better than expected, better than advertised. So shout out to Stokely being here. He got involved kind of here in the match. The match goes off. Samoa Joe is dominant. He's out there not caring, beating Dalton Castle up. They get on the outside. The boys start to play a role in here. Samoa Joe's trying to take this beating to the outside on Dalton Castle. You know how he gets when he's on the outside of the ring. He wants to hit an ole kick, pay tribute to Samoa Joe 2003. But the boys, they keep tossing Dalton Castle in before Samoa Joe's able to get to the floor and really getting this beating off. It happens a few times where the boys distract the referee, they distract somebody, they get Dalton Castle a little bit ahead of Samoa Joe, and it was getting Samoa Joe off guard. He was really upset. So at one point, Samoa Joe crawls over to the announce table and he grabs Stokely Hathaway and he says, "Fix this. Fix what's happening right now." Stokely looks petrified, terrified. Samoa Joe's been ruining his life for a number of weeks now. So what he does is runs over to the ref to complain, to get the boys thrown out of the match. It distracts Dalton Castle, who ends up getting caught up by Samoa Joe. Coquina clutch for the win. Samoa Joe, still your Ring of Honor television champion. SP3, how did you feel about the match, and who is ever going to beat Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor television championship?
I thought the match was solid. It was a solid matchup. I didn't think that these two guys' styles meshed very well when the match was made, but it was about as what I was expecting from this matchup. And I like that they used it more to tell a story. One of how Dalton gets all this help from the boys, and usually it's undetected by the referee. And two, the Samoa Joe manipulation and bullying. Basically, Samoa Joe is Debo, and Stokely is Red.
1,000%. 1,000,000%. That's exactly what it is.
It's 100% that, and I love seeing it every single time. So Stokely getting involved, that popped me. Him throwing out the boys, that popped me. And then Joe winning almost immediately right after that. Yeah. So I enjoyed the story that they told here. As far as who's gonna beat Samoa Joe, it's the same person I said going into Supercard of Honor. It needs to be Mark Briscoe. This man makes this ROH TV title sound like it's on the level of the Ring of Honor World Championship because of how badly he wants to hold it and how long this story has been going on. So I want Mark Briscoe to finish his story. I think that was what we were leading to on this show before, Eddie Kingston went to the G1 and before Mark Briscoe's injury. I think we were going to lead, and Tony Khan basically confirmed that by saying that he was going to do Joe versus Mark Briscoe here. I think we were going to have the crowning achievement for him here, but if he can come back by Final Battle, that's even better. That would be a nice little moment as well. I mean, that's hopeful thinking with the type of injury he has. It says they said the rest of the year, but I'm gonna be hopeful. And as far as Stokely Hathaway is like if you went to high school with like a world famous actor, like that's how I feel, because he's a ROH OG. People tend to forget that. He used to be he was the original manager for Moose.
Yep.
Moose
used to come out with the shoulder pads and the football helmet.
With Stokely Hathaway as his manager. So I will always stand by Stokely. I think he's one of the best on the mic, one of the funniest in professional wrestling, period, and outside of professional wrestling. Stokely Hathaway is a gem, and he's been gold on Ring of Honor television.
100% agreed. Couldn't have said it any better. We're about halfway through the show, you guys. So, of course, I want to say if you want to submit your super chats, get them in right now. Thank you guys for supporting. You want to submit humper chats, get those in. If you want to just say something, shout out to your boys. Thank you again for coming along for this ride with SP3 and we're going to get to a couple of more matches. Then we'll get into some super chats. Next up, I want to shoot to SP3 though, because he was probably the most excited person on the timeline for the result of this match. The tag team championship match. You saw the Ring of Honor tag team champions, the Lucha Bros, taking on the Best Friends, taking on Aussie Open, taking on the Kingdom. I can't believe I forgot the Kingdom, and I wanted the Kingdom to win. Unfortunately, I'm very upset about this. SP3, just take it, man. Just take it.
There were so many highlights in this matchup, Reg. Like this was another one that was an ROH staple. ROH staple, these tag team four corners, because ROH for the longest time, for people who were unaware, had the best tag team division out there. It's
a long time. It was a long time.
It was 2007 where I was in Hammerside Ballroom watching Briscoes and main event Briscoes versus El Generico and Kevin Steen.
He flexing again, you guys. He flexing again.
Main evented over Morishima versus Bryan Danielson, which was my match of the year that year. It main evented over that because tag team wrestling, they put on such a high level. Briscoes, American Wolves, Red Dragon, the Young Bucks. This felt like a kind of a return to that a bit. There was so many highlights in this matchup. You had Rey Fenix early on. He does a spring off of Davis's knee into a cutter on Fletcher. That was crazy. Then you get the dive spot, the dive section, where you get Aussie Open on the outside. They do their meet in the middle, back-to-back bump spot on the floor on Best Friends. Then you get Taven does the Undertaker over the rope dive onto Aussie Open.
I love that dive.
Yes, I love it every single time. I have to call it the Taker over the rope dive. I just can't call it the over the rope dive because it's Taker's over the rope dive. Lucha Bros do a pair of Tope Con Helos. So basically everyone's on the floor. You see Mike Bennett try to go up to the top. It looks like he's gonna do a dive, but Trent cuts him off, does a superplex onto the entire pile. That was a nice spot. And then the finish I thought was so well done, where it set up so many different stuffs and actually made this an exciting tag team division again, which it hasn't been since Supercard of Honor. I'll just say that.
Would you look at that?
The finish sees Penta setting up for the fear factor, and then Trent tags himself in. So this leads to an argument between those two. Taven comes from behind and attacks them both, but then the Best Friends does strong zero on Taven. However, Lucha Bros pull the referee out before 3. Fenix basically does the OD obvious distract the referee thing. Like, come over here, I got something over here. While Penta nails
Can't
Trent.
believe the ref fell for that one.
Are you
Unbelievable.
How much do you get paid? Come on.
Unbelievable.
Penta nails Trent with the ROH tag title, and then the Kingdom almost win. I thought the Kingdom were going to win at the end there because they almost came in and won, but Davis breaks that up. Him and Fletcher do their double teams, and they hit Coriolis on Trent, who's already been beaten to an oblivion, to win the titles. Aussie Open win their third set of tag team titles this year. They have won the IWGP Tag Team Championships, the NJPW Strong Tag Team Championships, and now the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Tough. And Aussie Open is already they took like 2 months off because Davis was injured, and then they like, okay, let's get back into this tag team of the year race, because they were in the lead, ladies and gentlemen, before Davis went down, and now they get back into the race by winning these titles and being a part of an absolutely excellent balls to the wall 4-way. I thought that this was going to be far and away the match of the night, but there was other great matches after this, but this felt at this point like far and away the best match of the night, because I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it. What did you think, Reg, about all of this and the finish and how it sets up a bunch of different things?
Yes, this one kicked into the fourth gear, like we're talking about a little bit earlier. Everybody started doing everything. I love how certain points in the matches, the tag teams would get their own thing. Like at one point, the Kingdom had the ring cut off, but it was in a 4 corners match. Some way they made that work. They worked that into it. The Lucha Bros got into their thing. You know how when they get into Super Saiyan mode and they're doing Fenix is running the ropes and Penta is hidden Made in Japan, and they're doing all these wild stuff. It was really great. Best Friends, I think, showed a lot of character work. They showed why they're veterans in this. They showed why they kind of were the glue to hold this whole match together. And then Aussie Open, going into this, I wanted the Kingdom to get the victory just because I think what they've been doing on Ring of Honor television since they went on Honor Club, I think they've been the number one flag waving tag team of the division. They've been talking. Anytime you see them on TV, it's like one of my biggest gripes in professional wrestling. If this whole thing is about championships, anytime somebody talks, they should be like, I want that championship. Like anytime a singles wrestlers talk, they should be like, yes, I got this feud with blah, blah, blah. But in the end, I want to be the world champion. And that's how it was for the Kingdom. Anytime they got a promo within the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, it was like, we're the uncrowned Ring of Honor tag team champions. We represent this brand harder than anyone else does, and we should be the champions. But beyond that, I think of where Aussie Open was headed before Mark Davis got injured was to be the Ring of Honor tag team champions. So it wasn't super surprising that this title change happened here, because they were already being set up to be the next ones in Ring of Honor. And professional wrestling as a whole, I think, becoming a great tag team. And like, you can't be mad at Aussie Open, because at the end of the day, they are one of the best tag teams in the world. And if they are going to be defending the Ring of Honor tag team championships, hopefully more than the Lucha Bros did on this run, because I don't know if they had, was this any more defenses than this one? Then it's going to be great for me.
They had against Claudio and Willow.
That's right.
On the
on Dynamite.
Double or Nothing. And they had against QT and Powerhouse Hobbs on the Battle of the Belts before the last one.
Come on.
But I thought that Aussie Open was going to win, mainly because I thought that they Tony finally figured out how to solve his issue, because I feel like Tony has been dealing with an issue ever since this year started, because he admitted that his whole plan for this year after year one was FTR and Briscoes and that whole all-time trilogy. And he said year two, the tag team division was going to be centered around Briscoes versus Lucha Bros. Now, unfortunately, we don't have Jay Briscoe with us, so he's had to steer the course. They have gotten the titles on the Lucha Bros, but whether it's, visa issues or having one on the show and not the other, this didn't work out. Are we still going to have the Lucha Bros on Ring of Honor, and we're going to do like a proper feud with them in Aussie Open, and that's kind of finally the replacement for what was supposed to be Lucha Bros and Briscoes? Or do you think that this whole thing and this setup that we saw, spoiler alert for what happens later in the night, seems like there's a setup for Death Triangle versus Blackpool Combat Club? But when I'm seeing everything go down, I'm just looking at them, just like, this feels like set up for what's going on, or what's going to go on AEW, more than what's going to go on this show.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. And we're going to talk about it at the end of the Ring of Honor title match, that it was like, wait, is this about Ring of Honor or is this about AEW? Because looking, it's about AEW. So, I mean, I'd really just at the end of this tag team match, just want these tag team championships to be defended. At least have like some proving ground matches, just something that shows that this division has something to fight for. Injuries are always so unfortunate. It's ruined so much this year that there's a lot of stories that were probably going to be told, but we got to start moving on quickly. If these injuries, like, oh, there was an injury. All right, we got to move forward with this. We can't slow walk the dog to get to these moments. But shout out to Aussie Open for getting the win here. Very great match. Another spot food contest. Cannot complain about the amazing things that happened. After this was another tag team title match. This time the trios 6-man tag team championships, which you saw the trios 6-man tag team champions of the Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage, Toa Liona, and Kaun taking on Leon Ruffin, great talent, Master Wato, and Taguchi from New Japan. I thought that when this match was announced, I was very confused. Still very confused as to why this tag team was a tag team. When they came out at the beginning of the match, I was like, huh? They don't even look like they should be together. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Beyond that, ended up being a super fun match. It felt like at the end of this match, it was a showcase for Leon Ruffin, because when he gets into that evasion, dodge, you can't catch me, I'm gonna hit you here and then be over there quickly immediately after, the fans always love it. And at one point, the crowd was really behind Leon Ruff taking on these 3 giant action figure like men on the other side of the ring that are trying to take his head off legit at every turn. They're all clotheslining him, suplexing him, power bombing him, looking, then posing right afterwards, looking like absolute superstars and beasts. But Leon Ruff here was on his way. The other 2 guys were just kind of there, SP3, or am I tripping?
I thought that Taguchi was low key the MVP of this matchup.
Okay.
You didn't think when he got the near fall on Kaun and he got that prop? Come on.
I'm not the biggest Taguchi fan off rip, so I was like,
I'll be honest. I was not before the Best of the Super Juniors this year, but I thought they told a great story of him cutting out the butt stuff, taking things seriously, and he had a great tournament. And I thought that he really actually tried here, where he didn't do a lot of his shtick that gets annoying and doesn't get over well. He did some of the stuff that does get over well, like him being in the middle and then making all of Mobile Embassy crash into each other. Like, I like stuff like that. It's simple stuff. It gets over. It's for the whole family. I thought Taguchi was really good in this matchup. I thought they highlighted Wato well. I was glad he wasn't involved in the finish to this matchup. But the finish to this matchup, dear Lord, Reg, they launched Leon. Where did Leon go?
In my notes, I put the finish was the big brothers throwing their little brother into the pool from the embassy.
That was legit it.
When 3 big brothers pick their little brother up and just throw him as high as they can in the air. That was the finish of this match.
That was exactly what the finish to this match is. If there's one spot you're gonna see from this show, it should probably be that. It's them notching Leon Ruffin into the air and just splat and then just pinning him. That was just perfect. That was perfect. That's all it needed to be. I was like,
no exclamation point. That was the exclamation point. We just splatted this man like a damn egg on a hot sunny day. It was crazy.
I was like, why would you need another move after that? I was like, that was perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah, great stuff from Leon Ruffin. I'm interested to see if he has a deal or signed. He had music. Like, I kind of want to know what's going on here, because every time that he's had a showing in AEW, it's been great. It's been a little while since we've seen him, so it was great to see him back here in this match.
I think he may be one of the tier people that we don't hear about until a little bit later down the road. And I do agree with you when he made his comeback at the end. He did that kind of elusiveness that reminded me of Leo Rush.
Yeah,
that was what that reminded me. That whole elusiveness. Oh, I'm here now. I'm here. Oh, you're running ropes over here. I'm running ropes over here. I always think of that as the Leo Rush spot. So anytime Leon Ruffin does it, I'll be like, oh, doing that Leo spot, nice.
Yeah, super great match. Next up after that, we got the insanely entertaining Pure title match. The Pure champion, Katsuyori Shibata, took on the dancing queen, that dude, the fool, Daniel Garcia, for the Pure Championship. SP3, his dancing in here was insane. At one point, he danced down into crisscross applesauce to face off with Shibata.
He in fact did that, Reg.
He danced down into crisscross applesauce. I was like, we are off the rails here. It's crazy. A lot of this was centered around Shibata being very angry that Daniel Garcia is doing the stupid dance. Before the match, there was a promo that Shibata was just like, I don't like that dance, man. Like, I don't know why you fans are so excited about it. I don't like it. So a lot of this was Shibata cutting off Dan Garcia, slamming him outside on the guardrails, just hitting him with extreme forearms, elbows, slaps, all that classic Shibata stuff. But Dan Garcia was like, he just wasn't having any of it. He was dancing through a lot of the pain. The crowd was really hot hot for Daniel Garcia for a lot of this match, was kind of surprising because Shibata is usually such a fan favorite. But this dance is taking over the nation, SP3. There's not a lot you could do to counteract it. Did you ever think when Daniel Garcia, when we used to have the debate on if Daniel Garcia should have joined the Blackpool Combat Club or if he made the right move joining the Jericho Appreciation Society, that we would get to the point where he would have this dance that is so over, it's unimaginable. Do you ever think we would get here?
I did not think that, 8-9 months ago, when the fans were cheering, "You're a wrestler," and Daniel Garcia was getting ridiculously over, that when it felt like they kind of put a bucket of water on him when he was hot, because they had to focus on some other things. He wasn't the plan to get as over as he did then. But now he is. He feels like he's just as over or getting more over.
He might be more over than he was when he wrestled Bryan Danielson, which is crazy.
And it's because of the sports entertainment. That's what's the mind-blowing thing about all of this. But I absolutely adore. I feel like this matchup is a baby bird, and I want to protect it like a mother hen. And this is one of my favorite. This might be one of my favorite matches of the year for the simple story of, I can tell it to a casual fan in simple terms of two guys meet each other, one serious wrestler, the other dancing sports entertainer. The serious wrestler is upset at the dancing sports entertainer because he's dancing. So the dancing sports entertainer dances to be defiant to the serious pro wrestler, and so on and so forth. That's basically the story.
That's it. That's the story. You told it. And they did it.
Of the whole entire matchup, him dancing, and then Shibata like sitting down and telling him, "No, get down here, be serious, and wrestle," and him just doing this into the sitting position, and then trying to dance through getting slapped, and Shibata saying, "No, I'm gonna hit you harder, fight me," and then him just turning it off, fighting the entire way through, and then that finish was absolutely fabulous, Reg, of Shibata catching him in the rear naked choke, and Garcia realizing he can't escape. He's in the middle of the ring. So he dances into fading away.
Ridiculous.
I was like, oh, whoever is the producer for this matchup,
5-star performance, Daniel Garcia. So ridiculous.
One of Daniel Garcia's best performances. Shibata penalty kick to win. I thought this was the match that exceeded my expectations the most.
Facts.
Because I thought it was going to be very good, and it was just absolutely great. Probably the best story of the whole entire card.
You thought it was going to be like some hardcore fist and sweat flying pure title match, but Daniel Garcia is, which y'all try to get him not to be, a sports entertainer. He brought that sports entertainment and brought this match up 10 notches. It's crazy. You would think that you wouldn't do that in a match with Shibata, but it worked even better because it's a match with Shibata.
he somehow had a more ridiculous kind of juxtaposition to a regular Shibata match than Orange Cassidy. That was more unique to a Shibata matchup than what Orange Cassidy did with Shibata. That just tells you how good Daniel Garcia is. This man is on another level, and regardless of how you feel about Chris Jericho, the whole plan and idea to pick Garcia with Jericho, it's worked because I feel like it's taken Garcia to this next level where he's found his charisma, found his thing that's getting him over, and he's still a great wrestler at the end of the day. So that's the perfect combination.
Great match. Great showing from Daniel Garcia. I'm so happy to see him here in this spot. Coming into this pay-per-view, it was kind of like, well, why is Daniel Garcia back into this division? He was the pure champion before, and it kind of like just happened. But this was so different than the previous Daniel Garcia because this stupid little dance added such a better little element to it that it feels totally different than when he was in the pure division before. So amazing to see. Kind of a surprising result. I actually thought that Daniel Garcia might pull off the victory here, but Shibata's keeping that ROH Pure Championship, taking it back to Japan, taking it back to New Japan Strong, showing them young boys what the man's supposed to do.
I think it's going to really mean something. It has to be someone, I wouldn't say kind of like a new star, but it has to be someone that hasn't won this Pure Championship before. So that's why I didn't think Garcia was going to win here. Would I have loved to see it? Absolutely. But I think Garcia has kind of moved on from being in Ring of Honor and being a champion in Ring of Honor. He's more of like your AEW kind of branded talent. But like you said, he told a different story where the first time in Ring of Honor, they told the story of the two young guns kind of trying to jockeying for position in this kind of rebranded company of Ring of Honor over the Pure title. And now he's kind of the young upstart trying to go against a serious pro wrestler and show him his dancing sports entertainment ways is better than serious pro wrestling. So perfect kind of second story for him to tell in Ring of Honor.
Look at them telling stories on Ring of Honor through matches and through that. Who would have thunk it? I never thought we would be here, but it is Ring of Honor. Like, who should be surprised?
I would say some people would call this match, Reg.
Don't. Absolutely do not.
Y'all do. Please drop the thumbs up on this video. I appreciate y'all. And if y'all drop thumbs up on the video, y'all can see me more here on Fightful, so I don't feel like a substitute teacher at a school where everybody says nice things about me, but they never want to hire me to be a teacher. Put the thumbs up on the video.
Oh, well, yes. SP3 letting his true feelings out here tonight. We are cooking with fire, baby boy. Yeah, get your super chats and hover chats in. We probably should get into a few of them before we get into the last three matches of the show. So far, so good. Y'all are doing great. Ricardo El Notorio says, SP3, thoughts on Collision success / non-success?
Collision, I think, has been very well done in the first 5 weeks. I thought last week was the best episode of Collision. That FTR Bullet Club Gold Bang Bang Gang matchup, one of the top 5 best tag team matches in AEW history, top 5 best on American television history. Like, it's so amazing of a matchup. I thought Ricky and CM Punk was very good, and I think that kind of like what we're talking about Bullet Club Gold, they've kind of been the #1 success story of Collision so far. As far as like what they said about Collision is putting a spotlight on people that weren't necessarily getting a spotlight when they just had Dynamite. Jay White was at the top of my list because I was getting upset as every week passed when he first came and he wasn't positioned
you thought
in
he made
a top position. I was like, I'm like, maybe you made a mistake, Jay. Maybe you should have waited for the hiring freeze to be over. You could be still working New Japan Strong right now until it was over. But yeah, I think that they've really put a spotlight on them. Jay feels like a main event heel. Him and Juice Robinson feel like a revelation as a tag team. FTR feel like a prominent AEW World Tag Team Champions again. So the whole program, like that program between FTR and Bang Bang Gang has been a success, and it's been a big success for Collision. I like the old school feel to it, how it starts off with the promos. As far as like non-success, it's just the middle stuff that they have to get to. Like you got the FTR versus Bang Bang Gangs going well. You got CM Punk feuding with just about anybody. Ricky Starks, Samoa Joe, Jay White, that's going well. Andrade and House of Black over here is going well, but everything in between here, that's what they need to figure out. And I think that's when I will be on the bandwagon with everybody else who I think are very recency biased. We're saying AEW Collision, best wrestling TV show out there right now. No, you're just gassing it because you're a CM Punk fan. But
those colliders, man, those colliders, that's how they get down. I think if the rumored CM Punk versus Jay White is where we're going to out of this, I think these last few weeks of Collision have been absolutely the best way to get Jay White slotted into that spot. Because if there are some people, SP3, not like us, that don't know about every wrestling that happens in the world and might not know why Jay White is such a great pro wrestler. And this last few weeks just showed, oh, this is why everybody's like blah 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 about this. And shout out to Juice Robinson holding his own too on the way. I think everybody thought it was going to kind of be the Jay White show, but Juice is like, no, it's also Juice Robinson show. Like, I'm showing y'all too.
And they just made for the perfect team for FTR to go against, because FTR loved that old school kind of slow it down style in the ring. And Juice is he's plucked out of the 90s 100. Yeah. He's plucked out of the 90s with the cocaine from the 80s. That's Juice Robinson. That's Juice Robinson in a nutshell.
Points are made.
And Jay White is such an old school like main event heel. His pacing, the way he does his counters, they just made for just the perfect opponent for FTR. I was blown away by that.
Oh, that makes sense. Juice is off that 80s cocaine. Jay White.
See? We thinking now.
Jay White. Open your third eye. You will see it.
Juice and Jay.
Juice and Jay. Woo! I'm telling you, bro.
We breaking codes out here.
It's crazy. Our homie Van Twinblade. Yes, exactly. Our homie Van Twinblade says the two most beautifulest boys in wrestling media. That's us. Thank you, Van Twinblade. Next Sunday, y'all can tune in to Glory Pro. See two men that should be in Ring of Honor: Calvin Tankman and Xavier Walker. Big agree on that, Van Twinblade. First of all, you guys should check out Glory Pro. They put on great shows. I'd love to see Calvin Tankman get a shot in Ring of Honor or anywhere ever in that case. Definitely watch him on MLW. They're doing some super fun things. And Xavier Walker is one of those on the cusp, one of these wrestlers that's going to really break out here soon, given the opportunity.
Tankman, I've been seeing for the last couple of years, and I've been saying, why hasn't more companies kind of put their eyes on him and scouted him and try to recruit him? Xavier Walker, I gotta get my eyes on him and check out Glory Pro. So definitely listen to Righteous Reg. He's got his eyes on the ground. This man knows talent and sees it ahead of a lot of people. So listen to him.
Listen to SP3 saying, listen to me, okay? Jake Salazar says line of the night is when Stokely said Dalton was going to be in the car listening to Barry Manilow crying. Like, where does he come up with this? Legit. I wanted, like, after that little match of commentary, like, get Stokely on commentary more if this is the kind of gems that you're going to be throwing out, honestly.
Just put him on the Samoa Joe matches. If you just want to do one match, do the Samoa Joe matches. He could just do running commentary for it.
Listen, SP3 got a lot of good ideas, and it's late over there in New York, you guys. Like, I don't know how he's still keeping up with this, still coming up with ideas. We just watched a super long Ring of Honor show, and he's still like, also, you can have this, and also, you can have this. I love it.
Come up with solutions, not complaints. That's
Boom.
what I'm always about.
Our homie Vala B says Tony got some jokes today booking Pac versus Gravity. He really did.
Honestly. Yo, Tony Khan is one of the funniest bookers, I think, in wrestling history. The fact that he did that, and then I don't know if you heard it or you saw it, Reg, on social media, you saw about after Blood and Guts, people were complaining about, oh, the woman only got a 66-second segment. So you know what this man did? He vetted both of his Friday shows with women's matches. Yo, he's the pettiest dude in the game. I love it.
Funniest guy there is. Tony Khan. I love him. He's amazing. Heirs to the streets. He's telling y'all. He's letting y'all know. Ricardo El Notorio says, in any case, hi SB3. Reg, bong, blunt, or edibles? I don't really be getting down with edibles like everybody else does. I'm old school. I'm an old head. So
I can't even. I don't know if my lungs can do a bong nowadays.
Really?
Like, back when I was like in I went to St. John's University, man. And when I was a freshman in St. John's, we were learning how to make bongs out of pineapples and stuff like that.
I started what people might not know. I started this stuff late. I didn't do it in high school. I waited till I was 21. And it's set in differently, so I can still hit the bong as hard as hell, and that is what I prefer.
Spin those facts. Listen to this man.
It is what it is, my bro. Ronald Alec says 2022 ROH Feud of the Year, Briscoes versus FTR. ROH Feud of the Year for 2023, Athena versus Willow. 5 effing stars. We are definitely going to talk about it here soon.
I can't argue with you as far as ROH.
Jake Salazar says Bill Birmingham needs to tell Tony that we need Shibata versus Goldberg versus the pure title at All In. You're a sicko, Jake. Shibata and Goldberg? What does that even mean?
Imagine if Goldberg tried to get on his get in the Shibata sitting stance. Imagine that. You start hearing his knees.
That'd have to be the end of the show because they'd have to cut out while they show 2 referees getting him up off the mat.
You hear his knees all cranking and stuff. You got his son coming into the ring like, Dad, let me help you up. Let me help you up. And then he just starts smacking.
Goldberg's knees crack on national pay-per-view would be crazy, man. I don't think we need that.
We don't need that, folks.
We don't need that. You see how I do it there. That's why they pay me the big bucks, okay? Do we have humper chats? Maybe we should get into a few of those. I don't know if we even have any. I'm just saying that out loud.
Let me pull that up.
But yeah, Jake, you're sick trying to get Goldberg's ass kicked. I don't know why you want that.
Poor Goldberg for Shibata. Why would you do something horrible?
Real quick while you're looking that up, do you have any interest in Goldberg in AEW? So people are being silly and some people are being serious about it.
As far as Goldberg in AEW, I just because of how AEW has been able to use legends, I think I would be interested in seeing it maybe as a one-off, and then seeing it how it goes, because I don't think they're going to use him in the same way that WWE used Goldberg especially in those last couple of years. So I have open optimism as far as that, but nothing too confident.
Honestly, for the point that you make is exactly why they would use him in Tony is such a fan of that he'd figure out a way that it probably would be fun. So I can't even say I would be mad at it, honestly.
This is true. We do have some humper chats here. I see one from ShopKid29 who says, issues with the build aside, this night ended up being one of my favorite shows of the year. It was banger after banger, starting from the 0 hour, and nothing felt the same. The mark of a great show. 100% agree with you. I didn't have the highest expectations going in, but I had no complaints coming out, and that is the mark of a great show.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely there. And then a good question here. I ask you, Reg. Wesley Wiggins sends a humper chat. Thank you so much. And he says, which show do you think was better, Supercard or Death Before Dishonor?
Oh, that is a good question. I was at Supercard of Honor in LA earlier this year. There was kind of some disappointment for me in Supercard of Honor with Eddie and Mark Briscoe winning. That kind of took the winds out of the sail. And then after the Dante spot, like there was too many moments. There was a great show, but there was too many moments that kind of took the winds out of my sails. That's why I think Death Before Dishonor, the show today, was better than that. Because like the main event just makes it. The main event for tonight is just like, yes, of course, this show.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because my initial thought was Supercard of Honor, only because I don't know about you, but whenever I like see or remember a 5-star matchup or race up to 5 stars, I automatically will always say that show was better than any other show.
Yeah,
if it doesn't have a 5-star
fair.
matchup. So Supercard of Honor has that Vikingo Commander matchup, which
5
I
stars.
gave 5 stars to.
Yeah,
Nothing on this show off the top of my head had 5-star like instant reaction 5-star matchup, but everything was good to great. So I do agree, based on consistency and not as many down moments, I would give it to Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah.
We got one here from that was the one we read earlier from Vala B, and that was one about the Embassy Taguchi matchup. We got Brent Lockman, who says, 2 on the nose to say Taguchi left the forbidden door open a crack. See what you did there. Clever man.
Got you, Brent.
Clever man.
You got that one, Brent. Come on.
You win that one. We got like 2 more humper chats, but we'll read that when we get to the main event. So keep coming those in. You can keep sending in those super chat donations as well. Helps the channel grow and helps out all the contributors. So remember that and be generous, and we'll read out any dollar amount and make sure you get your money's worth.
Facts. Listen to SP3. We're going to get into the rest of this Death Before Dishonor card. And next up on the card, SP3, somebody sent a chat about it earlier. There was a little talk about it, but it was the Fight Without Honor. What Kate and I have dubbed the best story that was being told the last few weeks and few months on Ring of Honor, on a show filled with not that many stories. This was the one that was pretty consistent throughout the weeks. We had Stu, of course, turning his back on the Dark Order. A big surprise to me. I thought him coming back to AEW, that they were going to get back together with the Dark Order, Super Smash Bros. Him and Evil were going to really do this, but he had other things in mind. Vincent and Dutch and the Righteous are trying to convince him that the Dark Order did him wrong. There's been a lot going on between them. Dark Order's also been in this feud with the Elite. So they have a lot going on going into this. And I think that anger is what prepared a lot of this match. Like I said, Fight Without Honor, first ever 6-man Fight Without Honor. Anything goes. Immediately, this match starts going crazy. Stu spears Evil off the apron through a table, and then all hell breaks loose. There's barbed wire 2x4s, there's regular 2x4s, there's tables, there's barbed wire tables. There's just so much plunder. The crowd wants fire, of course, because they are disgusting gentlemen. That's how it is. But yeah, at one point there was thumbtacks in the ring. At another point, there was Legos in the ring. So many sharp objects to step on and stub your toe. We've seen stuff like this in PWG before. We've seen crazy moments happen before. So this was a great kind of throwback tribute to that. But beyond that, SP3, this was a very violent match. A lot of blood in this, a lot of dangerous spots. At one point, there's 2 tables outside of the ring. Stu Grayson has Evil Uno set up on the tables. He gets a giant Jeff Hardy style ladder, takes that ladder to the ring, starts to climb up to the top of the ladder like he's going to destroy Evil Uno through the tables. But Evil Uno slides into the ring, reverses, turns the tide on Stu Grayson, dumps him out backwards off this giant ladder through the 2 tables. Matt Hardy, I think SummerSlam 2000 style, just a scary backwards fall through 2 tables. Absolutely destroys Stu Grayson. Dark Order gets him back in the ring, hits him with the big T gimmick power bomb onto the thumbtacks, onto the Legos, onto all that to get the victory. And like I said, SP3, the things that they've been going through with the Elite, they're just angry, and I couldn't see them coming out of this match losing because their backs have been against the wall for a bunch of weeks. This is a really fun match, a match that I'm glad excelled like this, considering it was the best story being told throughout these weeks.
1000% agree with you and Kate. This was the only story being told on Ring of Honor television going into this. This was the best buildup of any matchup. I wasn't necessarily 100% sold on this being a fight without honor because that's been such a protected stipulation. People have to understand, like, in a company that has had 22 years of history, we've only had like 10 or 11 of these matches. This is
not a lot.
This is saved for like the main blood feuds. This is saved for your Shane Taylor versus Kenny King. This is saved for your El Generico versus Kevin Steen. This is saved for your Homicide versus Steve Corino. Like, these are like the blood feuds that Ring of Honor were built on, and I didn't necessarily feel like this was that, even though it's been the best feud going into the show.
It just hasn't gotten there yet, you think?
Yeah, it hadn't gotten there yet. If they made this a New Jersey street fight, we could have done all the same spots, and I wouldn't have felt this way. So it's just a choice of wording, but this is the first time that Tony Khan has done a fight without honor, and I think that this was the most personal feud that he's done over the Ring of Honor banner. So I understand all of those aspects, and it's the first time ever deal, like you said, first time trios fight without honor, and I 100% agree with what you said as far as the Dark Order's mindset going into this matchup. They needed this win, and especially coming off of the fact that they just beat the Elite. They just beat the Hung Bugs on Rampage. So you're telling me they can beat the Hung Bugs, but they turn around
that would have been crazy.
Beat the Righteous?
Yeah, exactly. That would have been crazy.
They had to beat the Righteous here. I like the little tidbits, like Stu Grayson coming out in the white pants for the first time, finally kind of matching with his Righteous brethren. I like that. That was a nice little touch to this matchup. I like how physical and how anytime Stu Grayson and Evil Uno were across the ring from each other, they always took that moment to kind of let it soak in. It's all about the little touch, the little strokes is how you make these matches kind of mean more. And I absolutely agree with you as far as the finish. I thought that was great and put a focus on Dark Order getting revenge on the friend that betrayed them. And that's something that we really hadn't seen, despite Dark Order having a lot of friends who either betray them or just forget about them.
They used to have a giant group of like 10 members, and now it's like 3 of them. Like, y'all lost all your homeboys. All your homeboys then left you. Fucking Preston Vance went out to another group. Like, I don't even know if -1 gets down with y'all anymore. Like, it's bad out here for the guys.
-1, like, y'all guys ain't cool. I can't talk about y'all at the cafeteria table anymore. Like, I ain't got
real. Like, my homeboys asked me about the Dark Order. I put my head down.
My homeboys be like, I saw you on BTE, but you was hanging out with them Dark Order guys. He was like, and I told them, I've been like, that's the only way I can get on the show. I'm sorry, guys.
Right? Gotta ride these losers' coattails. But look, they're not losers anymore. They got the victory here. A great match, really fun stuff. A great way to kind of increase that variety that we're getting here with this show. There's luchadors. There's fight without honors. There's great tag team wrestling. There's great women's wrestling here at the end. So it was good. It was a great spot to have here in the match. That led into what they billed as the double main event. In the first half of the main event, we saw the Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli taking on the man that gravity forgot he's just back, Pac. And look, right off rip, Claudio is still angry from Blood and Guts. He starts the match before the bell rings by attacking Pac. And it's kind of hypocritical because these are kind of things that he would be mad at Eddie Kingston for. He's been telling everybody that they don't have honor and they fight without honor and they need to be better. And he's the Ring of Honor World Champion and he's honorable. But he wasn't honorable to start this match, man. He did exactly
wasn't honorable
the
whole match.
Yeah, like he was wilding the whole time, like going against the rules, going against everything he's kind of been pitching, showing that Eddie Kingston was right. Eddie Kingston, you better come back and let him know. But yeah, what could you expect from this kind of contest? It's Claudio, it's Pac, two of the best wrestlers in the world. They brawled for a lot of this. Pac hit some moonsaults off of some places. Claudio looks like he's just such a great wrestler. And it sounds so crazy because he's older and because he's been around for so long. This is going to sound insane. Feels like he hasn't even hit his prime yet as a wrestler, which is correct. Like he's an older wrestler. It still feels like in 5 years he's going to be the best wrestler in the world because he's that good. That's how good he is at this, that he's still consistently improving every year. He hasn't took his foot off of the gas, and it was on display here for a lot of this match. The way that he manipulates and the way that he's a base for wrestlers and the way that he does backbreakers and the way that he stretches wrestlers and the way that he counters, it's just all that put together. It's really hard to defeat Claudio when he's in his zone, and I felt like he got in his zone here. He might have caught Pac off guard here, I think, is what the issue is. Pac might have been watching his old promos from Ring of Honor, expecting him to kind of be on this honor thing, and kind of jumping him off rip, got him off his guard. How did you feel about it, SP3?
Yeah, it kind of felt like that. Like Pac wasn't expecting that type of strategy from Claudio, but I love the fact that Claudio is a hypocrite in a lot of ways. Like we keep going back to this theme of we're seeing a lot of Ring of Honor kind of be redone. This Claudio world title run, it's just Nigel McGuinness world title run, guys.
Yeah,
that's all it really is. It's Nigel McGuinness's world title run, because Nigel McGuinness was a guy who won the world title based on honor, kind of like Claudio. And then eventually he started hearing the fans talk about how he's always injured. He doesn't defend the title enough.
Should be Bryan Danielson in the spot.
Should be Bryan Danielson. It shouldn't even be you. And eventually he just started using more nefarious ways more and more as his title run got, and he became one of the longest reigning Ring of Honor World Champions of all time. And I think we might be heading down that same route with Claudio Castagnoli, because I totally agree. I don't know if I agree with he hasn't felt like he hit his prime yet.
I was just talking crazy.
No, but it does feel like we've just scratched the surface on his prime. Yeah. It really does feel like that with Claudio, and this feels like, as far as presentation wise, the best he's been presented in his entire career as a singles performer. Definitely. Like Claudio Castagnoli in a lot of ways is this generation's Bobby Eaton, in that he's a great wrestler, and you'll hear people from Bobby Eaton's generation will say he was a great wrestler, but when you get away from that generation, they'll just say he was a tag team specialist. And I feel, unfortunately, the majority of Claudio's career in WWE and even outside of WWE, because for us that's been shooting in this Claudio gym for a while, even though when they tried in Ring of Honor old days to put him on his own, never quite worked out like it did when they put him with Hero. So this is kind of his staple. He's been a part of so many great tag teams, whether it be him and Hero, the Kings of Wrestling, whether it be him and Sheamus, The Bar, whether it be him and Tyson Kidd, him and Jack Swagger. That was like the best run for Jack Swagger in WWE. I feel like when we get like 10, 15 years after he's retired, they're just going to view him as this tag team specialist. So that's why I'm happy as a Claudio fan that he's getting this run, because he feels like the the main event star that he always should have been. And this matchup here was such a great example of what type of matches you can get when you have that as the base. You have this guy who's been built up as this monster who can't be beaten. It took basically everything for Chris Jericho to beat him the first time, and it seems like no one's gonna beat him this time. And then you got Pac, who's totally different, who could use his strength and his power in a lot of the ways Cesaro does, but he's like a foot shorter, he's a lot faster, he can use agility, he can use submissions. Love the brutalizer reversal of the Ricola bomb. I was just like, great. I love the Hurricane Rana, the top rope Hurricane Rana reversal out of the Avalanche Ricola bomb. And I love Wheeler Yuta getting involved. So this means that I feel like this means the feud is going to continue, because my only issue with this match being made is that it didn't get the proper build. And I wanted this match to be the start of a feud between them. And that finish was just like, it made me relieved. I was a little relieved and just been like, why did you not like it?
I didn't like the finish. I didn't like I hate distraction finishes because they're so cheap. Like, Pac's gonna get distracted by stupid ass Wheeler Yuta. No, dude, he's gonna stay focused in this match and make sure that Claudio doesn't get him behind his back. But it's just so cheap. It was just like, okay, this is a great match. A lot is happening. The Ricola bomb counters to the Hurricane Rana was crazy. Him carrying him up the ropes with the brutalizer, insane.
Yes,
all that was great. But then for them to just like, oh, and then Yuta's gonna run out, he'll get distracted, and then he'll hit the Ricola bomb, and it's over. It's like, all right, okay. But saying what you said on this is just kind of continuing the feud. That works. But then I also hate that like this great big matchup is like just to continue a feud or whatever,
That's true. Like when you invest in like a pay-per-view, and especially you're paying money to see this show, you want to see kind of at least the payoff of this chapter of a story, and
right,
not the beginning of the story.
Beginning.
Yeah. So I do understand that. I can understand if you didn't like the finish to the matchup. Like I said, it was more of a relief that, okay, this is gonna continue. Thank God. Yeah. That's why I felt that way, and especially what happened in the post match with the Lucha Bros coming out, because I was leery about that with Lucha Bros, if they were gonna realign with Pac, because Alex Abrahantes has been hanging out with Commander as of late. So I was like, is they trying to replace Commander with Pac? What are we doing here?
I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna happen.
What are we doing here? That's like the Lakers when they try to replace Shaquille O'Neal with Smush Parker. What are we doing here?
Don't talk about my homeboy Commander like this. Do not compare my homeboy Commander to Smush fucking Parker.
Smush Parker be shooting threes like Commander Walker. He be shooting threes like,
relax, big dog. You talking crazy.
He hit that first three. He be like, oh, I'm gonna keep shooting, just like Commander be like, oh, that rope walk worked. Let me keep rope walking.
Sicko mode, man. Let my man Commander live. Yeah, at the end of this, there was some shenanigans. The best our Lucha Bros come out. Then the best friends came out to confront them, setting up what happened earlier in the World Tag Team title match. And then Orange Cassidy, who always seems to make these random cameo appearances on the Ring of Honor show. Here he is again with the random appearance, comes out, hits Pac with the orange punch. And AR Fox is watching in the back on a monitor like an old episode of Raw in 1996. They're just telling all these stories together, which that's the part that I appreciate the most. SP3 is they like tied a lot of ends, a lot of loose ends that needed to be tied, and they're going to lead to a lot of really fun matches, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we got on this Wednesday's Dynamite, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli versus Lucha Bros versus Best Friends. I was like,
that's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll take that. That. That sounds like the better matchup that you're gonna have here. And man, Death Triangle versus Blackpool Combat Club. If that's what we're heading to next, sign me up. I'll be there. If we
get that at All In or All Out or somewhere there.
Please.
Yes. I'll take
Please, AEW. So yes, that's why I was very much enjoy the post match and the ending to the matchup, because we know we're gonna get more coming out of this. And if we can revisit this as a Ring of Honor World Championship matchup, I wouldn't have mind, because I wouldn't have mind if Pac did the surprise finish. If I'm the booker, that's what I would have done. If you have a last minute challenger replacement, that's the best way to get people talking.
That's a story to tell, because you're essentially catching the champion off guard. He didn't train for this. It's a surprise. That's kind of an easy way to get into it.
Yeah, because you already could have told the story that he went from training for Eddie to training for Mark to training to Pac, and that's why he lost. So that's the story, right? Yeah, you're right.
Because Pac is so different than all those guys. He didn't train for a high flyer. He trained for 2 brawlers, and then here comes Pac to do it. But I understand why they did it. I still think, which I think a lot of people think, that Eddie Kingston is going to be the one to dethrone Claudio. So this is the story, just kind of continuing that.
I think that for sure is going down at Final Battle, unless Eddie gets hurt or something. That's the only way that will stop it. Eddie is going to win the Ring of Honor World Championship at Final Battle. He's been tearing it up over at the G1 as well. Unfortunately, he had to verse Evil though. So but him and Shingo definly go out of your way.
Him and Shingo, but Evil,
Evil.
You guys were winding down here on our little Ring of Honor post show. We're getting to the main event. Get your last super chats in, get your last humper chats in, give us a thumbs up, tell all your friends about it, share this podcast, tell SP3, tell Fightful that SP3 is really good here. We could use him for more than just this guest host capacity. He's not Bob Barker in 2011 Raw. He could be more than just a guest host. He could be a real person out here. I'm telling you, he's good money. He had some great ideas out here. Why am I doing Don King for SP3? I don't know. I really like the guy. I really like him. I think we can use him. Only in America.
Only in America. Hey, I'm a good substitute teacher. I'm not like Mr. Belden's brother from that episode of Saved by the Bell.
Oh, damn. They dissed Mr. Belden bad. They were like, yo, we want to go whitewater rafting with your brother, dude.
With your brother, dude.
Want to go with your bald ass. Mr. Belden was crying in his office, bro.
Yo, he had the brochures, you remember? He had the brochures for them.
They had Mr. Belding looking off into the distance with the brochures. I'm like, damn, they did Mr. Belding dirty.
And then they do the moment where he drops the brochures and everybody in the audience is like, oh.
But then Mr. Belding's brother went to go get some hoes and he didn't go. Mr. Belding was like, oh yeah, my brother went to go get some hoes again. I'm sorry, he's not going to be able to take you guys to the lake.
But I'll take you guys.
I'll take you though, even though y'all dissed me a day ago.
Exactly. I shouldn't take y'all nowhere.
I'm your principal. It's fine that you guys hurt my feelings and I went to cry in my car before I went home.
You know, it's okay. I'm your principal and I'm here every day and I'm always here supporting y'all.
Yeah.
And, I'm your most consistent teacher because none of your other teachers last more than a season.
Teachers are out. I'm the substitute. I'm the principal and the substitute. I do all these jobs, and this is how y'all treat me. I started this gangster shit. This motherfucking thanks I get. Hello. I don't know how we got to Mr. Belding, but we are going to move into the main event.
Great episode.
Yeah, that is a great episode. We're moving into the main event of Death Before Dishonor. 2 black women in the main event. The forever Ring of Honor Women's Champion, the MVP of Ring of Honor and the Honor Club, Athena, is here to take on the woman with more momentum than most. I did calculations, SP3. I think this is the 3rd ever women's main event of a major pay-per-view. The other 2 were Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair and Mercedes Moné and somebody in this match, Willow Nightingale, 2nd main event black woman for the AEW Women's Championship. Such an important match, you guys. Athena going into this match has I'm not bullshitting when I say she has been the Ring of Honor MVP, man or woman, doesn't matter. Like, this show is hers. When she says, this is my show, blah, 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 she ain't lying. She's real. If you watch all the shows coming into this, She's been dominating people. She's been beating people up. Her and Willow already had an amazing contest earlier this year for the Ring of Honor Championship, Women's Championship. They just had another great match a few weeks ago on Collision for the Owen Hart Cup tournament. This was a lot of build in this. Phil and I interviewed Athena a few weeks ago talking about the Owen Hart match, but it kind of applied the same to here. She said she was going to come in here and beat Willow up real bad and continue to be the forever Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Willow has been on such a great trajectory. Her momentum is crazy. She just recently lost the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, who she won from Mercedes Moné earlier this year in Long Beach against Julia. She lost that championship too. So she's coming off of that, but she is coming off a big Owen Hart win. She did just get the victory over Athena. And these women here in this main event did about everything you could want to see in a main event women's match. The crowd was super hot going into this. That's a great thing to see coming off of these Collision tapings, which the crowd hasn't been so hot. Athena's have to go after like 5 hours worth of wrestling sometimes. So it was great that they both got to get the opportunity to be in front of a hot crowd, to be in front of the ones that are there for her. They told a couple stories in this match, SP3. Athena has been, if you watched her, dominating by brawling, taking these women onto the outside, getting them off their game, distracting the ref. At certain points, Willow tried to turn the tides and get Athena on the outside. She used a cannonball into the ring steps. She really got Athena off guard. But I was thinking as that this is Athena's game, though. Like, you don't want to be on the outside. But then on the flip side, I thought a lot of this match, Athena was trying to outpower Willow. Like, she did a lot of spots where she hit power moves. She did a Rampage Jackson style pull up power bomb. Like, she was just trying to show Willow that she's more than just this great wrestler, that she also can, go power for power, move for move with who many consider to be a powerhouse in Willow. And I thought that would be the downfall to her. They paid tribute to many, many, many former Ring of Honor women's wrestlers, Mischief, Daisy Hayes, Mercedes Martinez. It was a mix of, if you know the history of Ring of Honor and the Ring of Honor women's division, which isn't super heavy and super rich. No. They did, in fact, pay tribute to those women who never get an opportunity like that. They weren't main eventing shows. They were barely on the shows. And when they were on the shows, it was like the popcorn match. So they have turned that into having this main event. 2 Black women main eventing. Absolutely incredible match. All throughout, the doctor bombs that Athena hit, that Willow hit, the pounce. She was just very dominant throughout. But Athena's O faces in this SP3.
Oh my God.
Have we seen any O faces hit as perfectly and as precise and as point and as violent as these O faces that we've seen for Athena to eventually, after hitting an O face and a cross face, get the victory out here? Athena is still your forever Ring of Honor Women's Champ, to the dismay of my co-host here, SP3. Tell me about it, my friend.
Oh no, I'm happy. I am a leader of the Minion Army of Athena. I am a member of the Athena Minions, so I am happy our forever champion, our fallen goddess, is still the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. The best, you heard me, the best
ever
women's champion in North America today. Period.
Fact.
Point blank.
Period. Argue with your mom. There, you can't debate it, dude. Come on, it's Athena.
However, I tend to like my title reigns to end at the right time. And I don't know. It just felt like tonight was the right time to kind of seal the bow. And I would look back on this Athena reign and be like, okay, this is like one of the greatest women's championship reigns ever. It went 8 months. She did all these things. She was the main star, felt like the biggest star, main evented the last show she held the title for. It feels like the perfect title reign. Whereas if it goes any longer, I don't know. Is Willow going to be the one to dethrone her? Because that has a lot to do with how it ends. Is it going to be as great of a matchup as what we saw tonight? I don't know. So it just felt like this was the moment. This was the time, especially when the match is going so well and it feels so tremendous in every way possible. I was like, this felt like the time to do it. And this is now 3 times in 2 pay-per-views Ring of Honor made me feel like that. I felt like that after Mark Briscoe passed out to the Kikina clutch at Supercard of Honor. I felt like that after Claudio rolled up Eddie. And I felt like that when Athena passed out to the crossface. So I understand Ring of Honor is all about the long-term stories. I've been along for the ride. The very first Ring of Honor show I ever went to was because of a long-term story, because I was invested as a New Yorker in the Homicide title chase. So I went to Final Battle 2006 to see
Here he goes, a flex again. One more flex before we go.
Ring of Honor World Championship
great
from
match,
Brian
great
Danielson.
Moment.
Great moment,
so good.
Great everything. Julia Smoke was like, he was gonna be like, we smoking blunts in the front of the Hammerstein ballroom. I remember it. I was 18 years old. I remember all of that.
It's a moment, baby.
I understand Ring of Honor is about the long-term story, but sometimes the story has a better ending than what you probably intended to do. And Willow kind of completing everything, completing this whirlwind 2-week period where she loses the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, finally beats Athena, then wins the Owen Cup, and then wins the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. That just would have felt like the best week ever, or the most up and down week ever. And it just adds to Willow, who, when you really look at all the accomplishments, she feels like the leader of the clubhouse outside of Athena for the AEW roster as far as women's wrestlers of the year. Athena and Willow are 1 and 2 as far as all the women on AEW, and they proved it once again in this matchup. Love how it escalated. Just loved how it was paced. Athena is just such a master of the game right now. Like, for all the people that became a fan of her as Ember Moon in WWE, or even if you became a fan of her as Athena before she got to WWE, she's just put everything together now, and she just feels like the complete product. And Willow, you're seeing someone become the complete product, and it just came together here and just gave us a classic Ring of Honor main event. So honestly, I wouldn't argue with you if you said this was the match of the night. You said Garcia and Shibata was the match of the night. You said Pac and Claudio was the match of the night. The 4-way tag match was the match of the night. Yeah, like there were so many different options on this show. Up, top to bottom, a terrific show from Ring of Honor.
Boom. Honestly, yeah, it was very sketchy there for these last couple of weeks. I will say that. I'll admit it. If you watched our post show, you saw me a lot of times. But I never for 1 second thought that Ring of Honor would not put together a top to bottom amazing show because of that roster, because of the history, because of all these things that SP3 has talked about, all the shows that he's been through, the history of this company. When it comes to doing a big show, they can do it, and they did it. And on top of that, I think that this is one of the shows where they told a lot of stories kind of coming out into it. A lot of the times you see stories kind of ending, or them just like kind of having matches for the sake of matches. But a lot of this was tying loose ends, telling stories, trying to further along what's going on. Super interested to see how all the championships work out of this. Athena, we still don't really have an idea who could be the one to dethrone her. We got Layla Hirsch out here. We got Trish Adora. We got Diamante waiting in the wings. We got a lot of people that can be the ones. But at this moment in time, if she kept the championship forever and she was done with wrestling and she still had that championship, we'd all be great and we'd all be celebrating it. And I think it would be amazing. And I wouldn't be mad for one moment. And I totally would understand what's happening here. But amazing match. History has been made again. it might seem crazy when we say these things like 2 black women main event at the main event at the wrestling show. Look at here they go again. But you guys don't understand, man. You don't understand what it took to get here. Once again, I've been to wrestling shows, and I'm sure SB3 can agree with me, where I'm the only black person in the building, wrestlers
Yes.
included, the only black person there. And so to go from that to being able to see this company that we love have a main event featuring not only just 2 black women, that they didn't just throw together 2 black women for the sake of throwing it together. They got 2 of the best wrestlers in the world together to main event this monumental show, have this great moment, and then to put on this hard-hitting, tribute-paying, great match on the end of it. It's like not much I could ask for.
Yeah, that's like an ultimate fulfillment for, especially like you said, black wrestling fans, long suffering black wrestling.
They don't
fans,
understand, bro. Like, they don't understand.
They don't understand when Miss Jackie couldn't see another black woman around. We couldn't even ask. That would be too much to ask for. When they said Jazz looked too rough to be on WWE,
Jazz
and then
still ain't got no action figure. She's still trying to get an action figure.
Can we put some more respect on Jazz's name? Like Jazz changed the game, yo. Jazz changed the game. They were treating her like she was the next generation China when she was in ECW, yo. Yep, ECW. Y'all don't know Jazz until y'all saw Jazz in ECW hanging out with Jason and Justin Incredible. Those were the days. But yes, we were long suffering, and Willow and Athena are just so talented. And that's what makes it even better, because you know these are people who are so talented, that work so hard to get into this position. So that's what makes it so great as wrestling fans. But that is the entire show that we went through here, Reg. We do have another humper chat in regards to this matchup here from Arzaha 288, who says about Athena versus Willow. That was a love letter to women's wrestling, a true love letter. Like you said, all the tributes to the different women in Ring of Honor history. I go back, like I said, I started in Ring of Honor when literally the only 2 women and the only feud that they had with women for like a 3 to 4 year period was Lacey versus Daisy Hayes. And you're not a real Ring of Honor fan unless you've watched a few shows from the era that only had Daisy Hayes and Lacey apart.
And Lacey wasn't like a full active wrestler even. You know, so it's like there's a women's feud, but like only one of them's a full-time wrestler, and like it's just like people are craving a women's segment, so they are all in on this. Like, y'all don't understand. I swear y'all don't understand.
They don't understand. And then for anybody who's like, I don't know who these people are, Lacey is just like 1999 Stephanie McMahon. And Daisy Hayes is probably should be considered the mother of Candice LeRae. Basically how I can explain it.
Can't say it better, honestly. Yeah. There you go. The mother of Candice LeRae. Daisy Hayes might be one. There's a couple of women from that era that were ahead of their time, and I think that say 10 years later they'd be cooking. Like, imagine who kind of based off of this too, Sarah Del Rey, Sarah Amato, if she had came 10 years later as the person that she was, how different her career would have been. I mean, she ended up being great and helping in the back of so many of the great women's matches that we've seen over the years. But just imagine if she would have been able to do what she did back then now.
100% agree. Like Sarah is just so important to what WWE has done with women's wrestling in the past decade. But people don't know she used to be a beast. It was like Kurt Angle and Cesaro, Claudio had a baby, and it was a woman, and that was Sarah D'Amato. Like she was a beast in the ring. I remember her being a part of the Kings of Wrestling act as well. So yeah, I agree with you. If Sarah comes 10 years later, we be viewing her as like a Mount Rushmore type
Yep.
woman.
But yep, still cool, still the best. Great match for them to pay tribute to. We got a few super chats before we get out of here. Reggie Simmons says, yo, shout out to Jake Salazar. LOL do be illin in the chat. Yeah, that's just Jake's thing. He's the supporter. He's the homie. He's always out here representing. I'll see him in the morning for Grapsity. Thank you, Reggie Simmons, also for being a great supporter and also always showing up. Brent Lockman says, am I reading too much into Uno and Silver wearing the righteous colors? Not a lot of purple left.
That's an interesting take or eye on that. I didn't even peep that, but could be onto something. Maybe, you know, they won the battle, but they didn't win the war.
Facts. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for all your super chats. Thanks for the humper chats. Thanks for showing love in the chat. Thank you guys for supporting. It's late. I know watching 2 hours of a post show after you just watched a 4-hour show is crazy, but y'all are great and we really appreciate it. SP3, where can we find you when we want to listen to you do more of this greatness that you just did? You got a Saturday podcast too. Are we competing podcasts all the time?
We cross over. You guys go a little bit longer than we do, and we start earlier than y'all do. So it works out where a person can go from one podcast to another. They can have both on at the same time. So it works out perfectly. But yes, the next time they will see me is over on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. That is TRU True Heel Heat. We go live at 11:05 a.m. Eastern time. It will be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, Top Guy JJ, and we'll have a special guest that's familiar to Grab City, Wrestle Talk's own Sat E. Nyangi will be joining us tomorrow on the show. Very excited to have the brother back on the show, so that's going to be a bunch of fun. I also go live on Sundays for our AEW Collision review over on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel, so check that out. Subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 8,000 subscribers over there, and I want to thank Reg so much for having me on. Whenever I am asked for like people in wrestling media you want to do more stuff with, you want to do more content, more podcasts with, Reg is always at the top of the list, even though I've done podcasts with them, but this is my first time kind of really having it just you and me chopping it up like this. You called me out for trying to flex with my ROH.
There was a lot of flexing in there. I'm not gonna let you get away with this. There was a lot of flexing in there.
trying to pump it up over here, but you called me out, so I appreciate it. That's a good friend, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course,
a good friend will always call you
this
out.
This man is flexing. He was that Bryan Danielson in Homicide. What?
You flexing out here. You flexing. But yes, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much to Kate for asking me to be on whenever you guys need anybody on Ring of Honor reviews, on any reviews here on Fightful. Y'all know who y'all could call the Fightful substitute, me, the Gregory of season 1 of Abbott Elementary, where you will see me when they need me, but not always.
But season 2, we're gonna need him to be a full cast member, is what he's saying. That's what
I'm here.
That's what this is. That's where we're leading to this. Yeah, SP3. When Will left Grapsity, it was like we're gonna need to have some guests and some people that are coming on. Immediately, I was like, well, SP3, of course, like he has to be a part of this. Like we have conflicting shows, but we somehow have to work this out some week where you can come join us.
Next time y'all ask me, we just gonna start True Heel Heat an hour earlier so I can be done and then jump on with y'all. So feel free to ask me. I'll definitely be on. Love chopping it up with you and Phil, and especially if you ask me on during basketball season, where me and Phil are sworn enemies because he's a LeBron hater and I'm a Laker fan, and he thinks that I'm a LeBron lover and not a Laker fan. So we go through it all the time. It's gonna be a great time next time I'm on there. But thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And you guys can catch me in a few hours with Philip Lindsay on the Fightful channel, Grapsity Podcast, every Saturday. Also on Wednesdays with Denise for the for the AEW post show, and Mike for Indeed, and Kate always for the ROH post show. Shout out to Kate who couldn't make it. Hope she had a great time at the wedding. Super fun. I hope that she had. But it was a great time here with SP3 tonight. We got to talk a lot about Ring of Honor. Really great show. Appreciate everybody for being here. You guys are amazing. If you submitted any super chats or humper chats or said anything in the chat, really appreciate y'all. Thanks for sticking around. This has been Righteous Reg and SP3, the Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor post show. We out. Peace.